Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to World of Tanks. And I'm gonna do something that I only ever attempted once before, and I haven't done it in about 9 years. And that is a tank review. Kind of like how Jingles used to do it back in the day, though maybe I'll have my own little flavour, who knows. Today, we are not looking at the Tiger P, which is, of course, the tank that I scored that amazing pools medal in. If you have seen that game, I do recommend going and seeing it. But no, instead, we're going to be looking at another German Tier 7 tank. Or I guess a tank destroyer in this case. This is the Jagdpanther. Very much a real vehicle, unlike half of the things you see in this game. The Jagdpanther was, as I recall, a pretty dangerous tank in real life, and in-game, it's also still pretty dangerous. We're going to just take a look at this thing, though I don't think we'll be able to do too much in comparing it with other Tier 7 tank destroyers, mainly because I don't have too many of them, and the ones that I do have kind of very, very different. Though we do have the Challenger, AT-7, T-25, but nothing else quite like the Jagdpanther, so I will not really be able to compare it with anything else. That's just my fault. I've played a lot of this. I've not played a lot of this game, and I just haven't worked my way up the TD branches quite so high. I mean, I do have the SU-152, but I don't have the T-25AT, AC-46. Yeah. Anyway, the Jagdpanther. This is... Well, I've been really enjoying the many battles that I've played in it. I've played 40 games in the Jagdpanther, and as you can see, I've already scored my Ace Tanker badge in it, and I will be showing you that game in the gameplay segment after the garage segment. But if you do want to just watch the gameplay, I will leave a link in the description and the pinned comment, so you can just go straight to the gameplay. So, Jagdpanther. As I've just said, I've really been enjoying this tank. And that is, I guess, mainly to do with the crew that I have. They're currently in the E25, but I'll just switch them over. And as you can see, it's not the best crew in the world, but 6th Sense and a full camo build. Well, the radio operator hasn't quite reached 100%. That's because most of the tanks I have don't have a radio operator slot, but whatever. So with the camo rating, it gets up to 28.35% camo. And if you sit in a bush, well, from my own experiences, this thing is really kind of stealthy. It's remarkable how stealthy it is. I mean, it's huge. Compare it to the E25. Like, E25 is there. Jagdpanther, up to there. It's still smaller than a normal Panther, but it's still a pretty sizable vehicle. And yet, with this crew I have, and with, actually I don't have any field mods on it, because I only just elited. I don't have any field mods that increase the concealment. But, it's really a stealthy vehicle if you build it right and build the crew right. If I take the crew off again, we'll see how far down it jumps, and 17.1 base camo, well, with the camouflage on it. So that adds 3%. I guess that technically makes it only a 14% camo rating. So that crew really does help. Now, of course, as a tank destroyer, the main thing about this tank is the gun. It's all about the gun when you have a stealthy, non-turreted tank destroyer like this. And the Jagdpanther gets a choice of 4 guns. Now, you've got to be really kind of careful with this thing, because the grind could end up being really nasty. We'll take a look at the German Tier 6 tank destroyer that comes right before it, the Jagdpanzer IV, also known as the Flat Panzer. Now, back in the day, this tank used to be really bad. You had a choice of 2 guns, either the 75mm L70 or the 88mm L56. And though this gun is better now, back then it used to be a lot worse. Instead of having 5mm difference between the standard penetration of each gun, so 150 on the L70, 145 on the L56, it used to be 18mm of difference. So the L56 only had 132mm of penetration, combined with the less than stellar accuracy, 0.35 compared to the L70's 0.33, and also, actually no, the aim time is the same, but a slightly slower reload time. You can see why I have the L70 on this tank, because back when I first got it, it was just the better gun to have, really. I'll probably need to test that out in future, though. See how the 88 performs now. Maybe it's a bit more competitive now, but obviously the subject of today's video is not the Jagdpanzer IV. What you're going to need to do, however, is, as you can see, the 75mm researches straight into the Jagdpanther. But then the Jagdpanther has to research, well, you get it a stock Jagdpanther, and with the stock tracks, with the equipment I have on it at the moment anyway, it can only take the 75mm L70, though with the stock tracks and no equipment, it can actually take the 88 L71. Stock with this gun is something that I've not tested. I went straight to the 88 L70 as I already had it unlocked from the Nashorn. But as you can imagine, going through this tank with the L70 and then the L56 would be quite nightmarish. I can't imagine how it would have been before the Nashorn was introduced, because without the Nashorn, I would have been stuck with that gun. Or that one. And so what you need to do is, if you haven't gone up this horn, research the Nashorn, if you are going through the Jagdpanzer IV, you have to research this 88mm gun to try and make it, the Jagdpanther grind, a bit more tolerable. Now, there are 2 different ways to go with the gun on the Jagdpanther. You can either use the 88mm L71, which is the historical gun to use, or you can use the 105mm L52. Now, on paper, these 2 guns one might look worse than the other, but it's actually quite similar. The 88 has slightly more penetration on its standard rounds, 203 to 200. It basically doesn't make much of a difference at all. The APCR penetration, the gold round, is slightly worse, probably won't make too much of a difference, and of course, because it's an 88mm, it does less damage, 240 to the 105's 320. The 88 loads quicker, 6.1 seconds base compared to 8.2 on the 105. It's more accurate, 0.32 to 0.34 base, but the aiming time is worse, 2.3 to 1.7. Now, in the end, it's your call whether you want the DPM, the quick reload time of the 88, or if you want the alpha of the 105. But even though it does fire slightly slower, you can get the reload time of the 105 to below 7 seconds, which, even if it's not the most accurate gun in the world, you can make it very much more accurate and it will reload fairly quickly. So I can see the appeal of the 88L71, and in fact I still have it mainly for the historical reasons, and I will need it to put the Jagdpanther back onto it so I can get it for the Ferdinand when I have the money to buy it. But I've really been enjoying it with the Alpha 105. And really, I don't think there's much of a reason to use the 88. But that's just me. Maybe you would prefer the 88. Vehicle traverse speed is 32 degrees per second, so that's okay. It's not the greatest around. You can improve it with an improved rotation device if you want. It also helps the dispersion when you're on the move, so that can help with the gun aiming whenever you stop rotating or whatever. The engine, it gets a choice of the HL230 TRM P30, which is a 700 horsepower engine with a 20% chance of fire on impact. It's obviously just a straight upgrade of the HL210 and 50 more horsepower, but honestly, there's not much of a difference in between these two engines. I was actually running with the 210 for a while and didn't actually realise I was still using it. I think I looked in the stats when I was buying the 105 and realised, oh wait, I haven't bought the HL230. Though the HL210, in its defence, does weigh significantly less than the 230. 350 kilos. Is that 350? Oh, yeah, it's about 350. It's a very heavy engine. So you gain some power, but you also lose weight. So maybe the 210 isn't actually the better engine to go for. I need to check the specific power, I guess. I'm going to check that right now. So with the 210 big power, specific power 14.09. Actually, yes. 14.09 specific power. That's horsepower per ton, the power to weight ratio. That's with the stock engine. Now we mount the HL230. Specific power, does it go up or does it stay mostly the same? 15.06, so it does actually improve. Not a huge amount, but it does improve. So good that we've been able to clear that up. The Jagdpanther is better with the improved engine. Signal range is also decent. 710 meters signal range. It will allow you to keep contact with your friendlies who are far away. And as the FUG-12 is a very common radio set, there's a good chance you've already researched it on something else. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with the FUG-7, which is not great, or even worse, the FUG-5, which is, well, it's garbage. Garbage radio. Oh, the Jagdpanther, 105mm armed. The Jagdpanther, with its 105mm gun, is a very dangerous and potent machine, as I have been able to find out. Much to my glee, I've not had many great games in it, but as you can see, I've been able to play it pretty effectively, getting an average damage of 1,182 damage per battle, and a 63% win rate, and of course there's that Ace Tanker badge, in just 40 battles. This is a pretty good tank. With equipment, with the improved ventilation, the improved aiming, and the gun rammer that I've fitted here, well, just look at it. 6.89 second reload time. That's with the gun rammer and the improved vents, in decreasing the reload from 8.2 base down to below 7 seconds. The aiming time has been improved to 1.59 seconds. That is ultra quick. And it doesn't have a huge amount of bloom whenever the tank is traversing either. Accuracy has gone down to 0.3, which back in the day was the best accuracy you could really get on any tank. But if we chuck on the 88mm, that will be below 0.0, down to 0.28, which isn't bad. Ultimately, like I said before, it's your choice whether you use the 88 or the 105. I'm going to chuck the 105 back on. Such, you can get a pretty good DPM out of this tank. 2,787, give or take. This is, I've said it a million times already, this is a very dangerous machine in the right hands. Sure, it's no 268 version 4. The armor the armor is pretty effective when you're against tier 5 light tanks, when you're top tier. Say a Panzer IV-H using the 75mm L48 would not be able to penetrate the front of the Jagdpanther with standard rounds, but it can go straight through with the premium rounds, as this machine has 80mm of frontal hull armor, sloped back at is that about 45 degrees? It sloped back a fair amount, which basically doubles the thickness. So there are plenty of tanks that would not be able to go through this armor, but mainly at the lower tiers. You start going up against something else, if you try and go too frontally, if you try and treat this like an assault gun, it can let you down. A KV-1 using the 85 will go straight through this with its standard rounds. And I think even the E25, anything using the L70 75mm could go straight through this as well. So don't rely too much on your armor. You are still, for the most part, a sniping tank destroyer. But with your engine power, you are a fairly maneuverable and fairly quick vehicle. You can reach 55 kilometers an hour top speed. This is not a slow vehicle. When the time comes for you to be aggressive, you can be aggressive in this machine. Like it says down here, this vehicle is versatile. You can snipe at the back, or you can go up to the front and tank a little bit if need be. So I think I've waffled on enough about this tank. I'm not the greatest when it comes to padding out like this. I'm certainly no Jingles, but we will get into the games that I have for you, and there are 3 of them for you, hopefully to enjoy and maybe learn a little bit.
Hello everyone, Future Still Guns here. As you can tell, this video has been in the pipeline for quite a while, given the anniversary garage, which hasn't been around since August, so yeah, I've just stopped bothering with this, and there's no commentary for the 3 replays that are following, so enjoy some commentary-less gameplay of the Jagdpanther.
応したようだ。みんな揺れるぞ。
砲弾、敵の装甲を貫通しました。
立体がなんとか修理できないのか。
当然です。だって私だけの力ではありませんから。命中。次も外しません。
立体修理終わった。
一両撃破。でも油断は大敵です。
立体破壊。これは動かせん。立体が復旧した。西住さん、いけるぞ。
目標視界内です。大丈夫、必ず当てます。命中。どうしましょう。癖になりそうです。敵車両見失いました。当然です。だって私だけの力ではありませんから。目標を捕捉。美穂さん、指示を。 しましょう。癖になりそうです。砲撃が効きません。しましょう。癖になりそうです。敵車両被弾、命中しました。
履帯が破損したようだ。みんな揺れるぞ。
これがその結果です。目標を補足。ミホさん、指示を。花さん、すごい撃破です。敵車両戦闘不能、撃破です。
少しは頭を使うようだ。
命中。どうしましょう。癖になりそうです。わかりました。あの車両は他のチームにお任せしましょう。方針の調子が大丈夫でしょうか。直撃です。この感覚たまりませんね。敵車両撃破しました。
履体が完全にやられた。動けん。履体復旧。もう動ける。
加速。ミオさん指示を。花さんすごい撃破です。目標視界内です。大丈夫、必ず当てます。砲撃成功。撃破です。ごめんなさい、負けてしまいました。